Midday here in London, 7 in the morning in Washington DC and 8 at night in Seoul as tension between North and South Korea continues to rise. South Korea's latest move has been to deploy 2 warships with missile defense systems. That a day after the North moved a missile to its east coast. And reports are now coming in that the North's moved a second missile as the international game of brinkmanship continues. We can go live now to Seoul and our correspondent Lucy Williamson. Lucy, it does seem as though in the last 24 hours the tension has risen and the South appears to be taking very seriously these moves that they see in the North.
That's right. Both South Korea and the US have been making clear that despite the pattern that they see in North Korea's rhetoric, they are taking its threat seriously. The US has already said it will deploy fresh missile defences on Guam. South Korea has its warships ready to, again, track for any missile movement in the North. And you mentioned there, we're getting reports today that the North has deployed a second missile on its east coast. Just a bit of context to say that, of course, no one knows what Pyongyang's real intentions are, but North Korea does have military drills going on at the moment. It may be that this is gesture politics, it may be a way of posturing and putting more pressure on the US and South Korea, or it may be a sign of a more serious intent.
I just wonder, Lucy, what sense you get of the intensity of contact between Seoul and Washington, and indeed across the DMZ, the contacts between Beijing and Pyongyang. What sense do you get of the diplomatic activity?
Seoul and Washington are cooperating extremely closely at the moment. They are 2 of the closest military allies in the world anyway, and this crisis seems to just have forced them closer together. There was some concern that the position of strong deterrence being put up by both South Korea and the US in response to North Korea was, in some analysts' mind, helping to drive this spiral. But certainly that the 2 allies have been pretty well positioning themselves very close together. In terms of contacts across the DMZ, there are signs that South Korea is sending messages via third parties to Pyongyang because, of course, North Korea has cut the hotlines with the South, and the United States, of course, has the UN channel to talk to North Korea, though talks at the moment across the DMZ will be quite difficult because Pyongyang is so irritated by the military exercises going on here in the South.
Indeed, and Lucy, this may be a tough one to answer, but I know you do talk to South Korean officials. I just wonder what sense you get of how worried they are about their difficulty in reading the intentions of Kim Jong-un. Do you think that they really struggle to understand where he wants to take this crisis?
I think there's both a sense in South Korea that they are used to living with their unpredictable neighbour. There's a sense that North Korea, as the saying goes, is predictably unpredictable, and that it does have its own reasons for doing things. There's often quite a calculated, quite a calibrated flavour to North Korea's actions. And officials here, I think, are taking the threats very seriously, partly, of course, because the stakes here are so high. It may not be the case that Pyongyang is seeking all-out war, but in the small chance that maybe something would spark a wider escalation, the results could be quite catastrophic. So particularly with communication lines down, the chances for those miscalculations, those misjudgments, as Ban Ki-moon has put it, rise considerably, and I think that's why officials here are more worried. It's the sense that something might go wrong.
Lucy, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Seoul, and of course we will bring you all of the very latest news.
모르고 지금 개지랄들이고 이태놈들이 죽음의 무덤을 판다는 것도 모르고 지금 발광질을 합니다. 우리에게는 그보다도 더 위력한 핵 무력이 있습니다.
우리 조선민족처럼 미제에 가중되는 핵 위험을 받아온 그런 민족이 어디에 있습니까? 만약 우리가 핵을 가지지 못했다면 현대판 노예로 되었을 것입니다. 그렇기 때문에 저는 우리에게 영원한 승리의 보급을 안겨주시고 승리의 길을 밝혀주신 위대한 대한민국과 경애하는 김정은 원수님께 정말 감사의 인사를 드리고 싶습니다.
우리는 평화를 진정으로 사랑하고
끝없이 지향하며 평화는 더없이 기증합니다. 그러나 그보다 더 중요한 것은 나라와 민족의 전엄과 자주권을 지키는 것이라고 생각합니다.
지금 가만 보면 적들이 저희만이 12센 듯이 그렇게 우시대면서 분별 없이 처신하는데 놈들은 똑똑히 알아야 합니다. 원수놈들이 우리 그 최고 이익을 침해하고 우리 자주권을 누릴 때 우리 민은 언제나 무자비한 철출을 내리려는 하였으며 그 대응 방식은 예나 지금이나 변함이 없습니다.
지금 미제에 대한 우리 인민의 원한은 뼈에 사무쳤으며 우리 인내성도 한계를 이제 넘었었습니다. 어디다 대고 우리 공화국이 감히 선불질을 해야 된단 말입니까? 들어갔으면 들어라. 야단이가 하늘이처럼 믿고 있는 전략 폭격기, 핵 항공모함, 핵 잠수함 우리를 향해 대가리를 도는 순간에 모조리 박살낼 것이며 모조리 그저 죽탐쳐버려서 그야말로 항목서에 도장도 찍을 놈도 없게 C정자까지 말려버리자는 것이 우리 군대인민의 확고한 의지입니다.
세포등판 개관전투에 떨쳐나선 대송지도국 돌격대원들이 긴장되고 동원된 태세에서 도로 건설을 힘있게 다고치고 있습니다. 봄철과 장마철에도 공사를 일정대로 내밀기 위해서 이들은 작업 조직과 지휘를 짜고들어 공사 속도를 높여나가고 있습니다. 특히 이들은 그 어떤 틈물도 잘 빠질 수 있도록 로반에 막돌과 헌석을 잘 다져놓고 속축도 질적으로 진행하는 한편 반풍린 조성을 위한 나무 구덩이를 파는 기계를 자체로 만들어 짧은 기간에 수만 그루의 나무를 심을 수 있는 구덩이를 파놓았습니다. 세포등판 개간 전투에 떨쳐나선 육해운송 돌격대원들도 열족의 의지를 안고 습지대를 기름진 들판으로 만들기 위한 배수로 공사에 용량을 집중해서 일자리를 구겨내고 있습니다. 이곳 돌격대원들은 등판을 갈아엎기 전에 소속회를 전부 실현을 드높은 요리를 안고 윤전 기재들의 이용률을 높여 매일 계획보다 훨씬 많은 양의 소속회를 실어내고 있습니다. 3대 혁명 서소운동 발단 40돌 기념 함경남도 과학기술 전시회가 진행